Coming off the most violent weekend of the year so far in the city, but Chicago Police Superintendent David Brown claims the department is still ready for the 4th of July.
It's a weekend that has a very violent history, and CBS 2's Mugo Digwe's live along the lakefront with what's been done to try and keep people safe. Mugo?
I'll give Chicago a break on this one. A slight break. It's not just Chicago. It's everywhere the sun shines. 4th of July, just violent. I remember me and my buddies, anytime we could get our hands on a gun on 4th of July, we would shoot some bullets off and, shoot some. It wasn't every 4th of July, but anytime we could get our hands on a gun, because that's what people do on 4th of July. A lot of people shoot off guns. Because it's a good time to get some, if you live in a city, especially a democratically run city where gunshots, are seen as guns are legal in most of these democratically run cities. So they're going to draw police attention. But on 4th of July, in the days leading up, the weeks leading up, because they've already started like a few weeks ago. They started maybe 3 weeks ago letting off fireworks. So you hear it's nothing to hear a lot of loud sounds, and especially on the 4th, where it just do, just all night. So people use that as an excuse to, shoot guns off and practice shooting the guns in the air. And I've seen it. I've seen it more than I've done it, but it's just fun. It's a fun thing to do. It's a tradition. And I don't know what that has to do with the violence, but just guns being out more, maybe. But 4th of July is dangerous and violent everywhere. And then there's a lot of people in the streets because everybody's having get-togethers. And if you really think about the amount of get-togethers there are on 4th of July in these cities, it's maybe 1,000. Like in a city like DC, there may be 1,000 different get-togethers where people are gathered to do fireworks all across the city. And there may be 5 or 6 shootings. So the majority of the people are law-abiding, having fun, out there for the kids and, the celebration. But you just can't have that many sun people. Can't have that many sun people together, man. You just can't. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. So I think that's probably has more to do with the violence than just all the guns being out, because guys are shooting off guns to celebrate, the independence, America's independence.
Good morning. So we know it's probably going to be busy here at North Avenue Beach and other parts of the city this holiday weekend. Something CBD is likely thinking about, even though they say they are ready and will prevent violence this weekend. In fact, just a day after CPD says 74 people were shot and 6 killed this past weekend, more shootings in Chicago. This is what...
I'm sorry, man. And that's not how high it used to be. Like 2-3 years ago, Chicago, every weekend would be 100 shot. But just think about that. 74 shot, 6 killed. And you have people in this city, not in other cities. You have sun people in this city talking about structural and institutional racism. And this is the weekend. They're not even going to talk about the week, because the one thing they've done is they found a way to sanitize and minimize this sun violence. The weekend, talking about the weekend. You want to know about the week, Monday to Friday? It was a bloodbath. But when they get to just break it down to the weekend violence, they can bring the numbers down. So you have 6 killed, 74 shot, which is just an insane amount of people over a 72-hour period. And I think the weekend starts early Friday morning. It may be like over a 60-hour period. The way they it goes from Friday afternoon to Monday morning. early Monday morning. It's about 60-something hours that Chicago classifies as the weekend. That's an insane amount of people to get shot, and for it to happen every weekend. But this is one thing they do. They've figured out. All right, we're just going to talk about the weekend violence, because the week it's over 100 people shot during the week, Monday through Friday. So, but these numbers are insane when you just think about it, and then you think about it's every city, everywhere, and it's the same people everywhere, the same group of people, every city. Every little town, every little county, it's the same people everywhere. And all we're hearing about is structural institutions and systematic this and people hunting us. God. Make sure you subscribe, hit the like button. Take the $5 challenge via PayPal, via Cash App.
74 people were shot and 6 killed this past weekend. More shootings in Chicago. This is what the scene looks like last night in West Garfield Park. There's several evidence markers on the ground there. Police say 3 people, a man, woman, and a 14-year-old boy, were shot while on the sidewalk near South Springfield Avenue. Then this morning around 1 a.m., even though they say they are ready and will prevent violence this weekend. In fact, just a day after CPD says 74 people were shot and 6 killed this past weekend, more shootings in Chicago. This is what the scene looks like last night in West Garfield Park. There's several evidence markers on the ground there. Police say 3 people, a man, woman, and a 14-year-old boy, were shot while on the sidewalk near South Springfield Avenue. Then this morning around 1 a.m. in the Greater Grand Crossing neighborhood, police say a 53-year-old man sitting in his own house was shot in the leg when someone from outside fired shots into his home on South Ingleside. It's all adding.
If I had $1 for every time I did a story on this, not for every time it happened, just for every time I did a story on this, where someone was sitting in their home and some fellas get to shooting it out in the street, or it's a drive-by on the block, and some guy in his home just sitting, or some kid laying, sleeping in bed, or some little girl making a TikTok video in her living room gets struck with a bullet. If I could have $1 for every time, just the stories I've caught about this in the Sun Belt, because this is a Sun Belt thing. There have to be drive-bys. There have to be wild shootouts in your street for this to happen. This doesn't happen in the Asian community. It doesn't happen in the glacier glider community. Because they don't have wild shootouts in their streets, and they don't have drive-bys in their streets like that. And oh yeah, send me the story of, some glacier glider teens doing a drive-by. Because I want to see those stories. I search for those stories. I don't see them. And I'm sure that they're out there. So send those to me. Some glacier glider teens or young men doing a drive-by.
Avenue. Then this morning around 1 a.m. in the Greater Grand Crossing neighborhood, police say a 53-year-old man sitting in his own house was shot in the leg when someone from outside fired shots into his home on South Ingleside. It's all adding to the growing concern throughout the city as we're just days away from the 4th of July holiday weekend. Again, a weekend known for violence. Still, Police Superintendent David Brown says the department is ready.
Planning. Obviously, to the degree that we're precision deployments around predictable areas for violent crime. That's probably the more prominent policing strategy we have, as well as.
I hear a lot about cooning and buck dancing and, you always making us look bad. When are you going to say that these people are making you look bad? He's talking about planning. They're spending millions of dollars of this city's budget. Y'all talking about defunding police. They're spending millions of dollars to plan, have overtime. If you're an officer and you want overtime this weekend, you can get all the overtime you want. Just in predictable areas. So they know where. He used the term predictable areas. Who you think lives in those predictable areas? And how are these people not cooning? By just shooting black people. They know that. They know this is going to happen. It's still going to happen. There's still going to be 100 people shot 4th of July weekend. There's still going to be 100 people shot 4th of July weekend. There's still going to be a dozen to 20 people killed. But it won't be 200 or shot and 40 killed because of the planning and the planning and the planning and the extra resources, police officers and tactical gang units and vice squads, patrols, heightened patrols in predictable areas. So it's going to take them moving heaven and earth to just have 100 people shot and maybe 15 to 20 killed on 4th of July weekend in this one city. And it's like that everywhere. Y'all, and I get why y'all don't call these people cool, because they'll come see your ass. You know I ain't gonna come see your ass. You know I ain't gonna come smoke you over something you said. So I get why you call me a coon and you won't call them a coon. I get it.
Planning. Obviously, to the degree that we're precision deployments around predictable areas for violent crime. That's probably the more prominent policing strategy we have, as well as we do want to increase our contacts with the public, both offenders and the general public who need our presence to feel safer.
The general public needs our presence to feel safer. So the 90% of black people in Chicago who aren't into that street life, 80% of Chicago people, black people in Chicago that aren't into that street life, that aren't into that gang banging culture, that aren't into the just violent, wanton violence. They need the police so that they can just feel safe. That's not what I've been hearing from white liberals who live in the suburbs and news anchors like Don Lemon who live in the Hamptons, and football playing activists like Colin Kaepernick who grew up in a all-white town raised by adopted white parents. And that's not even what I hear from the Breakfast Club, Charlemagne, and DJ Envy, and Angela Yee, who grew up around in the Sun Belt. That's not what I'm hearing from My Son and Papoose and Killer Mike and T.I., who grew up in the Sun Belt. In the Stand, Tamika Mallory, whose baby daddy was a victim of son violence. He's no longer with us. That's not what I'm hearing from anybody over there on the liberals, whether they know about it or they have no clue what they're talking about. All I'm hearing is that if you get rid of the police, Blackistan will become a utopia. If what they're doing is not, if they should hang for that. You should hang for that. Like, literally. The amount of black people that who they've brought death upon over that's criminal. At least if they're not going to hang, at least charges should be filed against those people.
Increase our contacts with the public, both offenders and the general public who need our presence to feel safer.
And so a big part of that plan is extended hours and overtime for police officers this coming holiday weekend. We're live along the lakefront. Mugo Odigwe, CBS 2 News.
Problem in Chicago that is growing into a crisis. Another mass shooting. This time, 10 people wounded. An innocent woman killed. In this case, police say 3 gunmen opened fire into a crowded group of people last night in Chicago lawn. And that wasn't the only mass shooting this weekend. In all, 74 people were shot over the weekend, 6 of them killed. CBS 2's Tara Molina asking what the city's going to do about all the bloodshed, especially ahead of a holiday weekend. Tara, at least 7 of the victims were kids this weekend.
There go our buddy Tara Molina. What does she think about black people? Just think about it. Every single day, she's covering this stuff. And she's a white woman in Chicago, so she's 90, and she's worked for a news station, so she's got to be a liberal. I mean, we're not talking about Laura Ingraham here. I mean, this is definitely a liberal woman. It's not Megyn Kelly, okay? This is a liberal woman. At what point does she be like, yo, what? Like, what point does she's on the scene. She knows stuff we don't know. She talks to the cops. She talks to the families. Like, they only show us, they break it down to a 2-minute segment. She gets hours and hours of content from the police, and they condense it down into 2 minutes. And she does this every day. What does she really in her heart think about black people? In her heart. I would love to know. I would love to give her some true serum and hear what she really thinks about Sun people. What does she think about Sun people?
At least 7 of the victims were kids this weekend.
Brad, at least 7 of the people shot were under the age of 17. Yes, kids involved in these shootings. And that is part of why My Block, My Hood, My City is already involved in these neighborhoods and areas throughout Chicago, planning family-friendly events to increase safety heading into the weekend. Running from gunfire in the city's South Shore neighborhood, we tracked down this surveillance video from just one of the shootings in the city this past weekend. Here, 5 people were injured and 1 woman was killed. One of the 2 mass shootings Sunday, police are investigating now, with 10 people shot and 1 woman killed in Chicago lawn just hours later.
It's such a tragedy just to hear about all of the violence that is going on.
As police work to track down the shooters, Denario Bolton and My Block, My Hood, My City are working on something else, giving families and neighborhoods hit by this violence a safe and fun way to spend the upcoming weekend.
To help curb violence and promote positivity in communities.
They're called Hit the Hood events, and for the second summer, they're relying fully on donations and community input to make an impact.
They're relying on donations and community. They relying on donations. If only we had a association or a league that had thousands of black millionaires in it with disposable income usually spent on rims, white women, chains, foreign cars, and other things with depreciating value. If only we had a group of men from this same community that were all millionaires. Like a block of them that were like, you know. Wait a second. The NFL, there's 1,500 players in the NFL. 70% are black. NBA, 400 players in the NBA. 70% are black. Wow. Hollywood. Atlanta was. And I guarantee you this brother's struggling for donations. I guarantee you this brother in this group, they probably patching stuff together and using credit cards, taking out credit cards, taking out lines of credit, buying like the cheap hot dogs. They don't buy the good Nathan's hot dogs and the Hebrew National hot dogs. They buy the hot dogs that's basically chicken. Chicken and turkey gizzards. The big the hot dog that just tastes like bologna. They don't get the good chips, the Utz and Lay's potato chips. They get Freeman's potato chips. 79 cents for a 20-ounce bag. I guarantee you, they are struggling to get by. I guarantee you. What these black athletes and entertainers talk about systematic racism. It's institutional. This is a crazy community, man.
Denario Bolton and My Block, My Hood, My City are working on something else, giving families in neighborhoods hit by this violence a safe and fun way to spend the upcoming weekend.
To help curb violence and promote positivity in communities.
They're called Hit the Hood events, and for the second summer, they're relying fully on donations and community input to make an impact. The events? A result of members of a neighborhood answering this question.
What is something simple that you can do that'll have a positive impact on your block?
With concerns growing as we're just days away from the holiday weekend, a weekend known for violence, he told me they have activities and events planned across Chicago as the city prepares in another way. And we know at least a little bit about the city's preparation heading into the holiday weekend. CPD has said that officers' days off are being canceled and they will be working overtime. Reporting live outside CPD headquarters, I'm Tara Malina.
We went from defund the police to officers' days off being canceled. In 1 year. In 1 year, we went from defund the police, they're the cause of all the problems in the community, get rid of them, we need to police ourselves. In fact, we believe in this so much we're going to burn the city to the ground. 1 year later, officers' days off are being canceled and they must do overtime. And I'm a coon. If they get rid of people like me, everything will be all right. I hate myself because I did a video on this. This video proves that I hate myself, according to pro-blacks. You have to understand that. What they'll get, if a pro-black is watching this video, they won't get that, damn, 7 kids were shot over the weekend. Damn, 74 people. Damn, they got a the predictable areas. They know where it's going to happen in black communities. They know this. They got to do all this extras, like million things to just so they only have 100 shootings and 20 murders this weekend. Pro-black won't see that if they watch this video. You know what they'll see? That I hate myself. That's what they get out of this. He hates himself. We're hopeless. It's a hopeless situation. And let's see what goes on. We're going to cover July 4th the same way we covered Juneteenth. Right here on Ock Nation News. Subscribe, hit the like button, get in the comment section. Peace. I'm out.
And we know at least a little bit about the city's preparation heading into the holiday weekend. CPD has said that officers' days off are being canceled and they will be working overtime. Reporting live outside CPD headquarters, I'm Tara Molina, CBS 2 News.